Okay. And I see Will Farley's joined us. That's great. Hi, Will.
Good evening.
Hey, Will, how you doing?
Doing good? Of
Thanks for joining us tonight.
course. Just here to support if you needed.
Well, when we give these presentations, nobody has any engineering questions. That never happens.
It's 7 o'clock. We don't have a quorum yet, but I'm going to start. At least I can go through. I think I'll hold off, Earl, on your parts, Sergeant, if I could,
No
till
problem.
we get a few more people on. I want to welcome everybody. Here's Rob. That's good.
Chris, are we recording? Yes. Okay, good.
Yes.
I'm doing
Yeah.
notes this month, so I want to make sure we're recording.
Yeah. In fact, you're going to have about an hour or half an hour of nothing at the front end because I wasn't able to figure out how to turn the recording off when I first opened the link.
That's okay. I trim it off anyway. I post to YouTube too, so I just go in and trim it off. It's no big
Okay.
deal. Easy.
Yeah, the whole conversation about my hair, that can all go.
Done.
Thanks.
On.
So let's see, give some quick updates. Cyrus, all right.
Hi, Cyrus.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
I know we'll get one or two more. I know John Thies is going to join us, and there he is. Okay, we have a quorum. Okay, full speed ahead. And David, excellent. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. And we have a special guest tonight, Sergeant Earl Hall from Lake Oswego Police Department. Sergeant Hall has been with the force for 20 years, and he oversees the traffic division. So all matters dealing with traffic, Sergeant Hall is the man. And so we're delighted to have you, very, very timely, given discussions about parking and e-bikes and other issues. So I gave Sergeant Hall a quick agenda of e-bikes, parking enforcement at Lake Ridge High School, and 20 mile an hour. How's that going? And 10 minutes. I'd like to ask if folks could hold their questions until the end, and then we've allowed another 10 minutes for discussion and questions after Sergeant Hall. So, Sergeant, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you guys for showing up tonight. And you are the timekeeper, so keep me on track here. I have a tendency to start telling stories. So we'll try and avoid that till we get to the questions. But in any sense, yeah, the topics, parking enforcement, specifically near Lake Ridge High School, I was told is a concern. E-bikes and micromobility and speeding concerns. And with the 20 is plenty, there's a lot to talk about. So again, that's kind of the purpose for tonight. Our goals are improve traffic and pedestrian safety. We want to address the neighborhood concerns and share current enforcement efforts. I think that there's a lot of benefits of having these meetings, and I have actually seen Chris quite a bit as I've been going around talking to the different neighborhood associations and trying to get in front of the community so that they can put a name and a face kind of to the roles with the city and have a contact, and we can kind of have this open dialogue, which hopefully at the end of here in the 10 minutes we can engage in. But I want to be able to provide you with some tools that can help improve safety and strengthen the communication between obviously our police department and you guys. So we'll start out with basically parking enforcement and specifically at Lake Ridge High School and in the areas of concern. So current parking enforcement efforts, our community service officers, we have 3 of them. They regularly address enforce parking violations around Lake Ridge High School, usually during the start and end of school days and during major events. That's really where we focus a lot of resources, is kind of during those times. Common issues and recorded citations include parking and no parking in restricted areas is probably one of the number one violations, blocking driveways, parking too close to intersections and fire hydrants, also a pretty big one that they focus on. Crosswalk visibility issues, illegal U-turns and drop-offs, which also leads to congestion during arrival and dismissal times. Enforcement efforts will continue throughout the school year. That being said, as we get closer to summer, a lot of those resources kind of shift to the riverfront, George Rogers Park and foothills. As you can imagine, they get pretty busy. And again, trying to allocate resources for public safety reasons. That's kind of the natural progression of things. But we do understand towards the end of the school year, during that transition, especially the weather gets nice and kids are getting out of school, that things ramp up. We got graduation and a lot of events happening. So how can residents help with this? Again, this open dialogue, it's really about reporting and kind of this community effort, chronic problems and locations, repeat offenders, any really dangerous driving behaviors. That's where we want to hear from you guys. You guys can pick up the phone, call the non-emergency number. You have me as a contact. If it's a chronic problem and you feel like you're not really getting any traction or getting anywhere, you can go on the website. And if you look up traffic division under the police department website, you'll see my information there, to include phone number, direct line, and email. So I'm happy to have that conversation with you and come up with a game plan if we need to. But times, days, patterns, if you have a repeat offender and hey, there's this one kid, I don't know who he is, but he drives this bright yellow Camaro and he's always peeling out in the parking lot. Well, we call that a solvable crime or issue. That's probably something we can get to the bottom of. But any additional information that you can get without putting yourself in harm's way is helpful for us. E-bikes and mobility devices. So they're growing in popularity, just like all technology. A lot of times the laws are trailing behind, and there's kind of this gap that we live in. So we continue to see an increased use of e-bikes, electronic scooters, one wheels, e-skateboards, and everything else that you can think of. A lot of the common issues that we're dealing with, the biggest one is excessive speed. A lot of these kids don't realize how dangerous they can be. And if we're being honest with ourselves, how many of us would be on one if we were young again? But again, it takes a community to keep everybody safe. I'm going 40 miles an hour in a police car up country club, and I'm getting passed by an e-bike, a kid who looks like he's 12. I'm like, okay, that's a problem, right? So excessive speeding, riding on the sidewalk where there's pedestrians, underage riders, the lack of education with parents, although I think in Lake Oswego, we've done a pretty good job of educating the public through the school resource officers and so on and so forth. But unsafe roadway behavior in general is a big problem. Riders not wearing helmets because they're not cool or what have you. And then modified devices. Kids are so tech savvy, and it is so easy to get around and modify these things so they can go a lot faster than they're supposed to legally. I'd say that than they're intended to, but I think some of them are designed specifically to be modded to go faster, and they're marketed that way. Some of the laws that I had made mention of that are changing rapidly. Class 1 and 2, the maximum speed is 20 miles per hour. The class 3, the maximum speed is supposed to be 28 miles per hour, and operators are generally supposed to be 16 years old. If you're under 16 years old for class 2 or 3, you're not legally operating that device. E-bikes are not allowed on sidewalks, and I know most of you guys know that. And helmets are required for all riders under 16 years of age. Of course, everyone should wear their helmet if they're on one of these powered devices, but modified devices are no longer legally qualify as e-bikes. So when they mod these things out, it completely changes. Now they're classified as a moped or a motor vehicle, or even a motorcycle sometime. And then at that point, they need to have a license. They need to be registered and insured for them to be legal. So as I mentioned, a lot of the laws are still playing catch up, as we are, and a lot of people don't know what the new laws are. So House Bill 4007, I think is, if memory serves me right here, and that's going to be in effect January 1st. So this January, it's going to be change a few things, and it's going to include the micromobility devices, the one wheels, the e-skateboards, the unicycles, all the similar devices like are under 100 pounds. So those additional changes are going to the class 1 e-bikes minimum age changes from 16, which is what it is currently, to 14. Motor assisted scooter minimum, the age is going to be also, I believe, on that 16 to 14. And the helmet laws are going to be consolidated. What else? Local control remains pretty important for us, and the educational piece for us to try and keep people safe with these changing laws. Local governments are going to be, so I guess this is another whole conversation. This is kind of just not a teaser, but it's an unknown because I don't know what the city is actually going to do with this yet. But local governments can essentially come up with different city ordinances to help kind of regulate these. And I know those discussions are being had, but nothing has been finalized yet. So, for example, if we have parents that are repeat offenders that have been warned multiple times and they're still allowing the kids to ride, that's an issue. How do we address that as a community and as a city? What do fines look like if we compensate if we seize one of the bikes because they're an issue or a problem or involved in an incident? So more to come on that. A big piece of this, as I had mentioned earlier, is the educational piece, is partnering with the communities, getting out with the neighborhood associations, specifically talking to parents. And what I've got instructed officers to do now is we're not chasing these kids on the e-bikes. The last thing we want to do is have them run from us and then speed out into traffic and there be, some kind of critical incident or a crash where somebody hurt. But a lot of times you'll see the kids hanging out downtown or, in the parks or down by the river, and the officers are able to kind of casually approach them and say, hey, any of you are 16, none of you. And then we start identifying them, calling parents and having them come pick up. And really that's the educational piece and the partnering with the parents. Is we've had a lot of success with it. It's been a pretty good approach, but we'll continue those efforts throughout the summer. Always wear a helmet is what we're telling them. Talking to them about slowing down, not to ride on sidewalks, the things we kind of discussed. They need to have lighting because a lot of times they go out, it gets late, they're trying to get home now, not be on their cell. I know I shouldn't have to say this, but a lot of them are on their cell phone while riding an e-bike. You can't imagine that being a problem, but
Just FYI, you're at 9 minutes.
Oh my gosh, I will speed up. Thank you. So let's just jump ahead then to the speeding and the 20th plan. So this can kind of continue into the questions and the answers, but the whole idea with the 20th plenty was essentially to get people in general to slow down across the city. So I most commonly hear, why would we lower it to 20 if they weren't following the 25? And this is kind of the unspoken, generally a lot of people that I have talked to and observed will try and keep it under 10 miles an hour. So, now if they live by that philosophy and they're generally going 28, 29, miles an hour, or what have you, the whole idea is that, it just slows everybody down a little bit. As you guys know, signage has gone up systematically throughout the city. We've been doing extra patrols throughout the city as those signs have been going up. I guess the tough part for me in managing this is that I've got very limited resources. So yes, I run the traffic division, but that currently consists of one motor officer. We are looking to hire a second motor officer. Drew Boggs is our motor officer. He's a fantastic person. He was a very hard worker. And as we were kind of joking about the beginning of this, you'll see the stats for the department, and then there's a mid-range officers who like traffic do it. And then there's our motor officer who writes probably more citations than anybody but he's also a crash reconstructionist. So he goes to the worst case scenarios throughout the entire region. He's an instructor. He can testify in court as an expert. He sees the worst case scenarios. Therefore, he knows a lot of times that the consequence is the one thing that changes behavior and gets people to actually slow down and be safe. So there's a reason for that. I know we're probably into the 10 minutes already. So the main points with this.
Yeah, let's go to questions, and if you raise your hand, then I'll call on you, hopefully in the order that I see your hand go up. And anxious to get Carrie.
Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen so I can kind of tell a story here. So I've been approached by a number of people within our neighborhood that's really concerned about e-bikes.
Mhm.
And one in particular had a thread in LO Moms that I'm sharing, but it's hard to, I kind of block some out. So I'm just going to highlight what they're saying. And the one that was the most interesting to ask you about is that they were at the track. The school was closed. They called the non-emergent number to report it. And the non-emergent number said, you have to talk to the school about this. It was after the school was closed. I talked to her. I know her. She said, I did tell the non-emergent dispatch that the school was closed. Normally during school hours, it is the school's responsibility. Outside of school hours, we were under the impression that it was the police department's responsibility. So that was the main question that she wanted me to ask about who responds to the school when there's kids on the track, ripping up the track and almost hitting kids, so on and so forth. I mean, there's multiple examples of this. Anecdotally, I can talk about my own experience where a kid almost hit two elderly women on the sidewalk on Bryant, and I pulled over to make sure they were okay. I was just going to Chipotle. Like, I wasn't out being a community volunteer. So if you could just speak, one, to the school, like what is required at school, and then two, it's like, are kids getting tickets? Are parents getting tickets? What's happening right now when you engage with these kids?
Yeah, those are excellent questions, and thanks for bringing them up. So let me just start with a little bit of a disclaimer of I'm not going to specifically talk to I don't know what the conversation was between dispatch and the friend, but it brings up really great points. So I will tell you that anything criminal, regardless of where it is occurring within our city, is essentially going to be a police issue. Where it can be tricky is if we're talking about violations versus crimes and they're happening on private property. Generally, if it's on school grounds and there's something nefarious happening where we think it potentially could be criminal or a safety concern or something that needs to be investigated, police are going to be the ones to respond. And I can also tell you that if for some reason, this is great, this is also kind of why I'm out in the neighborhoods, is I want to be a reference. I guess that's the word I'm looking for here. If you're not getting the response or the reaction or the service that you think we should be providing, give me a call, let me know, so I can look into the situation and see where either the disconnect, the communication, may have been mixed up or failed. But in any sense, I think to answer your question simply, it sounds like this would have been, she called the non-emergency number appropriately. I would suspect, given the information that was provided, it would be an officer that would go out there and look into that. So I don't know kind of what happened there, but I would say, yes, that's the right thing to do. Because my first question is going to be, how old are these kids? If they're not, are they?
She posted pictures of them on LO Moms with helmets on.
Yeah.
They were 12, 13. I mean, they were really young.
And
they were identified by the school too.
And see, that's the great thing, is we have school resource officers who know all the kids. So even when they're wearing helmets or hats or whatever else, sometimes even masks, usually the school resource officers are pretty good at figuring out who the kids are and getting in front of the parents. And that's where like we said, we have a lot of success. To answer your question about the ticketing, they can be ticketed, and some have been. It's usually if we are not gaining compliance, our first approach is to identify the kids, have the conversation, get the parents involved, identify the parents, educate them as to what the laws are, what the safety concerns are, and at that point we have a record of that conversation, and hopefully that resolves the issue. And I would say 90% of the time it has. Now, that being said, there have been kids that have taken it out and gotten stopped. They have gotten into an incident and stopped by police again, where the parents said, "Hey, we told them not to," and they, and so it was that issue. There have also been incidences where we've talked to the parents more than once, and that's why, some of those conversations are coming up in terms of what does the law say that we can do versus what do we need, what do we want to do as a city. So part of that is still a work in progress.
Just for reference, I usually hear not a lot from the neighborhood, but we put a next door post on about you joining, and I had 16 neighbors reach out to me personally about e-bikes. So it's like a very growing concern in the neighborhoods. So thank you for your answer. I'll let other people jump in.
John?
Thank you.
John Thies, go ahead.
Hi. I have complained for years about speeding issues on South Shore Boulevard.
Mhm.
I walk along South Shore and Lakeview a few times a week, and I assume it's just a matter of time before I get hit by a car. I've been told that South Shore is a thoroughfare and is outside of the city's jurisdiction and therefore must be dealt with by the state. And so, given this reality, I'd like to know what is the city's responsibility for public safety on our residential streets, and what is the realistic protocol for addressing this issue with the city?
Well, I will say there's kind of two parts to that. It sounds like when you're talking in terms of the city, I'm guessing you're talking about like road improvements and things that you'd like to see other than enforcement, or are you talking specifically enforcement?
Enforcement.
Yeah, so enforcement, we do, that is within our jurisdiction in terms of can I cite someone on South Shore for speeding? Absolutely. It's going to be more a resource management issue. So I can tell you, I have literally hundreds of different locations within the city that if I had the resources to put an officer there with a radar gun and the ability to cite, I would definitely do that. I allocate a lot of the resources to where statistically we've had a lot of crashes, and we have high speeds, and that's usually going to be Booneberry, Country Club, Cruiseway, State Street. But that being said, with all the other locations, the approach that we have taken is we have extra patrols, specialized extra patrols that we do. Where you can partner with me and help me is say, hey, I'd like an extra patrol on South Shore. You call in and that generates an incident number. It goes, I've created this system to help keep track of all of the complaints so nothing gets missed. And essentially what that does is it goes on our extra patrol request list. And every week I'm grabbing a bunch of those locations and I'm allocating them to officers and saying, hey, these are where I want you to focus. We're going to focus and try and do extra patrols. And I just want you to go out there for, 15 minutes to an hour or two, however much time you have based on patrol, the patrol calls for service, and try and do extra patrols there. Information again is tell me when you're walking and when you're seeing the violators. Usually it's when people are going to work or school, when they're coming home from work or school, or around lunchtime is where we see a spike in traffic throughout the day in most of the locations. So that's usually when I'm trying to get either patrol officers or the traffic guys or even the community service officers to be visible and run the radar and do citations. Something else you can do is you can go on our website and you can request a speed reader be put out there. So if you go onto the Lake Oswego Police Department's website, go to the search engine there and you just type in speed reader and it'll click on the links. There's about 3, I think, or 4 links that till you get to the form. Fill out the form and submit it. And it's very similar to the extra patrol protocol that we've put in place where it will go into a list and the speed reader will go out there. It'll stay out there for anywhere from 3 days to a couple weeks based on the data that we collect and what we're seeing and the demand for the speed reader. And then it'll go for a couple of days or to charge up the battery again, and it'll go back out into rotation. Usually a lot of times we will also try and follow that speed reader around in terms of enforcement because they'll see the reader there. And then after a while they start to ignore the reader. And immediately after that, we try and, do the education and enforcement piece.
Yeah, well,
I think
I have called and had the trailer put out there several times. I've got all the documents that say how much they've sped over the limit, in range and all of that business, and it doesn't seem to impact much of the traffic flow.
Yeah, we have a pretty bad driving culture in the Portland metro area for sure. And I think unfortunately that has definitely trickled into our city. There are a lot of very disrespectful and quite frankly, dangerous drivers on the road. We do our best to try and curb that. I think we actually have a reputation in the city of Lake Oswego for stopping and citing a lot of people, especially given our limited resources. But I do the best that I can when you make contact with me and you say, hey, this is what I'm seeing, to try and get resources out there. And, I've got a list of different neighborhood or addresses in neighborhoods where they say, please park in my driveway. And I'll put a CSO truck out there. Now, the CSOs can't even write tickets, but just sometimes their presence of sitting there in areas that I can't get an officer to enforce just because of they're just too busy. That has also helped these conversations with neighbors, because I'll tell you, a lot of the hard truth is also, and is that a lot of times I cite a lot of people who live in the neighborhood, and very often they're people who have asked me to be there to help enforce. And that's not because, I'm saying that they are hypocrites. It's just natural, because we just tend to shut off our brain when we're close to home and we're in an area that we're familiar with.
Sergeant, we need to move ahead. Meg, did you have a question?
I did. So I live on Marjorie Avenue. We also call this the Lake Ridge High School overflow parking lot.
Yeah.
And so, and actually this year traffic has been much better. I don't know what it is. I think the kids are parking different places. I don't know if they're parking in the rec center. I know they're not supposed to.
They're not.
But
I'm there. They're not.
But so it hasn't been as bad this year. But one of the things that we're asking for is, we have kind of scattered throughout the neighborhood places where they can park during the school day and places where they can't. And we're hoping to actually get them all taken down so that we can have these kids spread out further, so they're not all on Marjorie and they're not all on Coldwood and they're not all, in these one little areas. So then they can park on Cloverleaf, they can park on some of the other areas that might make the traffic a lot better. So I think I know Will's here, and it's something we've talked about before was restricting the traffic. But now, if we can't restrict the traffic on Marjorie, I'm asking that we take it all off, so we have more places for the kids to park.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit different conversation, because that piece of it I don't necessarily impact. But I will tell you, I'm glad to hear that it's better, because this last year we have written record amount of citations for parking there. And you can thank the 3 CSOs for that effort. And our motor officer Boggs has been out there and been pretty relentless, especially at the beginning of the school year and for major events. And I think that has helped. But you are correct. Parking is a tricky thing. And
and the kids, and I don't blame the kids. The kids are great for probably 95%. The kids are great. And I did want to note that it was great at the first part of the year that the officers were really responsive to any phone calls. So I got them out within 20 minutes and the kids got a ticket. So the kids learn pretty quick.
Right.
But I just think that we just need to give them more places for them to park rather than less, because they're not going to stop driving.
I think we need to move ahead, if that's okay. Sergeant, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. You're welcome to join us anytime, of course. And thanks for your service and for your help and listening.
I have a family birthday party downstairs that they are waiting for me, so I will respectfully exit.
Okay, Carrie, did you have?
Thank you, guys. If anyone wants to continue the conversation, have additional questions or things they'd like to talk about, give me a call. I'll get back to you and we can chat.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Old business, approval of meeting minutes from previous meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the April meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve April meeting minutes.
Okay, second, Elisa.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, passes. Thank you. Chair report, South Shore Fire Station. Probably not much I can say that you don't already all know. Election day is Tuesday. And Carrie just put some ads on Instagram and Facebook, so keep an eye out for those. Um, everything that can possibly be done, I think, has been done. We're still doing a little bit of canvassing, and folks are finishing up their canvassing jobs. And we have farmers market on Saturday in the rain, and then we have a honk and wave, which is the exciting activity for Monday morning and evening and Tuesday morning. So if you want to join us, please do. Just send me a quick email and I'll give you information. Carrie?
I was just going to add, if you feel like you can, text 5 people to remind them to return their ballot. That's the biggest thing we're finding right now is people actually returning their ballot. So if you have 5 good friends that don't mind you bugging them about voting for this measure, just remind them to turn their ballot in.
Great. Second thing, a quick note, NCC, the Neighborhood Chairs Committee meeting is this Saturday. And Carrie and I will not be able to attend because we'll be at Farmers Market. So is there anyone on the board that would like to attend that representing P&A? Meeting is from 9:30 to 11:30. It's at the Oswego Heritage House. It's actually a pretty interesting meeting. You get to meet all the other neighborhood chairs and hear what's going on in other parts of the city. Anyways, if you'd like more information on that, just give me an email.
I'd be all over that, Chris, except for I'm joining you at the farmers market, but otherwise
Yeah.
I'd be on it.
Right. Thank you. Okay.
Hey, can I just put a thought out there? Is that it's going to be raining, probably not as many people. So maybe we don't need as many people at the Lake Oswego fire station rebuild.
Sure,
and maybe
could be.
one of you guys could go up, or one of the 3 of us can go up and do that meeting if it's really chill.
Elisa, would you rather go to NCC?
I am happy to do that.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you. I'll let Tom Bland is the acting chair. I'll let him know.
Okay, and you'll send me the details.
Yeah, and I'll send you more information on it.
Okay, sounds good.
Next, Cyrus. We need to nominate Cyrus as a board member since he was unable to attend at the general meeting in April. So
I make a motion to nominate Cyrus Lee as a board member for his area on the PNA. Area 7? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
And I second the motion. All in favor?
I'll do 2 hands. Yeah.
All right. Good. Okay, Cyrus, you're back in the saddle.
You
And
got
by
to
the way,
work.
thank you, everyone. I want to thank you, all the board members. Thank you for returning to the board this year. This is great. It's so important to have continuity, and it was a fun year last year, and I intend to make this year fun too. So thank you all. Now we need to have nominations and vote for treasurer. That was the only officer position we did not nominate and vote on in the general meeting. So I would like to nominate Cyrus Lee as the treasurer. Is there a second?
Second it.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay. All in favor of Cyrus as treasurer?
What does Cyrus have to say about this?
Oh, yeah, no, happy to do it. Chris and I have had conversations about it. So
Okay.
thank you for
Thank
asking,
you.
John.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance when I was elected, so I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, John, thank you.
Thank you, John,
John
for-
served as treasurer for 4 years.
Thank
And-
you, John.
Yes,
Yes, thank you, John. Thank you. And I should note that our balance has probably doubled in that 4 years. So John, you did a good job. On that note, John and I closed out the account at Home Street Bank, and our $511 is sitting in in an envelope in my office here, and we will open a new account with Cyrus down at the On Point here shortly. Okay, next, Dave Crittler has joined us. Dave, if you remember from, I guess it was March, Dave submitted his application as a candidate to join the board representing Area 6. And in the general meeting, we voted on a bylaw change that made it possible for someone to represent an area other than the one in which he lived, given certain conditions. Conditions had to be empty for, I think it's 6 months, and it had to be, he had to live within 200 yards of the border, I think, and all 5 of the endorsers had to come from that area. And Dave met all those requirements. So I would like to move that we accept Dave Crittler as a new board member representing Area 6. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Cyrus. All in favor? All right, Dave, you're in. Welcome to the board. We expect great things. Okay, outstanding. One last thing for me, our June meeting on the 11th, Lynn Peterson will be our guest speaker. So please encourage everybody to attend that, to be here for Lynn. Okay, Vice Chair report, Carrie.
Yeah, I really wanted to forego my time because I anticipated Sergeant Hall to have the floor for longer than we anticipated. The only thing I'm going to remind everybody is that I put the results of the community survey into base camp. And not once we get through election day, and anticipate having some discussions around the results come June, July, and August to format some priorities in the coming year. So that was all. Thank you.
Treasurer's report. I gave the report. Balance is $511.61, and we'll open an account at On Point once these meeting minutes are published and approved. Committee reports. Jenny, can you give us a quick LOSD update?
I have nothing new from the update I gave before with all the bond updates this summer in the area. So that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Emergency prep, David.
Hi, good evening. Not a lot to report right now. Other than, I think we're seeing trends related to the lower snowpack this winter. And so probably expect to see some messaging about water conservation this summer, as well as potentially soil drying earlier in the summer, like June instead of July, and more heat. But yeah, that's, not anything else otherwise to report so far from emergency prep.
Okay. Nancy Sage is camping right now, but she said that there's nothing to report on parks, traffic, and pathways. Rob?
Yeah, hi. So just a few things to report. Chris and I met with Will and city engineer Rooney to just discuss the area around Palisades school. So that was a good meeting. There was a number of follow-ups that we're going to look up, working with the school to, inquire about a crossing guard. And so I thought it was a productive meeting. There's some things we can get out of it. The other thing is a couple changes. So, since our last meeting, Stafford Road is now closed. So we're seeing a lot more traffic on that. And then also, I wasn't aware of this. I was thinking about reaching out to Will, but I wasn't aware that they were going to change the light at Overlook in Stafford. So they did updates, and I'm not sure. It has arrows, and it's just a different type of signaling. And I think if folks go by there, you'll see some signs out that say that there's a new signaling device in place, and it looks like they just kind of changed the way the light works. And then the other thing is kind of the comments. I was reaching out to Will to see if as the spring tubes are out to do the spring traffic studies. But I noticed on some of the sections of 20, we don't have those fully covered with measuring devices. So maybe next year, because it was interesting when we were talking with Sergeant Earl just earlier, he's talking about 20, they generally slow down 10 miles under the limit. But it'd be nice to reinforce that with some data. And I think that'll really tell the story of how effective the, 20 is plenty is by looking at some of that pneumatic tube data, traffic data with that. So, next year, we might be able to play a larger role in where we place those traffic collection devices at, and then we can look a little bit more at the data. I think this year's data will be interesting, and Will said he'd share it with all of us. So it still should be interesting to look at, and we'll get some reports upcoming. So that was it, Chris.
Yeah, did you list where those areas are in Palisades, or?
I can send it. So Will, yeah, he sent us a little map that has pins in it, and so there's just kind of various areas where they're looking at traffic data, and again, it's a annual event that occurs, I think, every spring. Will said that they like to do it when school's in session because the data would be slightly skewed if it was outside kind of the school kind of enrollment times. So yeah, I could share that map that Will sent.
I noticed there's one on South Shore just east of Westview, and there's one on Green Tree Road between Green Tree Ave and Carter Place.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Meg, anything happening in land use?
It's actually kind of quiet right now. I haven't gotten anything for a little bit, so I suppose things are quiet. No news is good news. And I haven't heard anything more on Ken's project. I believe I've seen the construction things to start destroying the church, but I haven't seen any actual work taking it down.
Okay. Elisa, community health and resiliency update.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure this was public, but Chris confirmed with me that it is. I'm really thrilled to say that David Westerdahl is now an official member of the Community Health and Resilience Advisory Board. I kept forgetting that he wasn't one before because he's such a valuable asset and partner. And so I'm just really excited about what we're going to be able to do. He's one of 5 new members on our board. We have 2 new members and 2 new student members. Excuse me. I have to get myself straight on the 5. But David, I want to just share, was the #1 pick. Like when we were picking the new people, everyone's like, let's get him right away. Let's move on and make decisions about the others. So super excited about that. I do have a few other things to share. As you know, our board is new. We this evening we devoted our time to looking at our goals and where we might want to better intersect with the city's goals, the city's new goals. And so we are going to explore 3 areas to increase our advisory work. One of those areas is on building codes. So to look as Lake Oswego moves forward, have more say on how do we have new buildings facilitate resilient, connected community. And meet the needs of the population going forward. We also are going to look at where are our emergency hubs in the city. We don't currently have any. We don't have any schools or city buildings that serve as an overnight shelter. We don't have any designated shelters. So one of the things our advisory board wants to do is explore, could the city address that, and that you would have a place to go even just get information in an emergency when all the power goes out and you can't get information another way. So we're looking forward to exploring that. And then finally, we are interested in exploring what can be done to increase the number of community gardens in Lake Oswego as a place of connection, health, and space to also provide resilience. These would be gardens that would be available should, food be needed in an emergency, et cetera, they'd be designated for that. So we're going to explore that with the city. So I'm excited about all those things. And then also, as you may know, we our project was selected by the city to get its support. We want neighbors to connect with each other so that they build a network during an emergency. Our campaign is called Four from Your Door, so know at least 4 neighbors, next door neighbors that you could contact in an emergency. So the city is building a website for our project. We've got a door hanger that we're going to be distributing to encourage people to do this. And then we are going to be presenting it at the Chamber of Commerce Health and Wellness Fair on August 13th in Millennial Park. We'll be sharing what this campaign, how it works, what we want residents to do, and we're going to be encouraging neighborhood associations to support this and get our community to have some connection that would be workable in an emergency. Carrie, so you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just so you know, we're on standby to be activated to support that. Chris and I have talked about it, and that's a really great initiative.
Yep.
And website posts, blasts, whatever you need to, your committee needs to support that. We are ready to be activated.
Fantastic. I'm hoping that will be in July. I'm working directly with the city's communications director on all the things we need to be ready for the health and wellness fair in August. So thank you, Carrie, and thank you, Chris, for the support.
And you guys have the National Night Out. You're tied to that too.
Yes, we're absolutely 100%. I'm really excited about that. And I also, it's a point of pride that it's a member of the Palisades neighborhood who came up with the idea, and that it was supported by our board. So, Palisades rocks. What do we have to say? Okay, so I want to quickly move over to Nextdoor and talk a little bit about metrics. So, as you all know, every week I make a post on Nextdoor, and this is building visibility for that page is slow haul. And sometimes I wonder, one step forward, 2 steps back sometimes. But when I look at results for the quarter, so since April, we've had 274 page views, and we're up now to 37 faves. So I was hoping by the end of the second quarter to get us up to 50 faves. We really need some help with that. When you're out bugging your neighbors to get them to vote and get their ballots in, maybe also bug them to fave our Nextdoor page. As Chris said, demonstrating that we've got an audience and that we've got a lot of people behind us is our power. So this is just another vehicle that we're looking to use. I wanted to note that there were 2 posts that we made that far exceeded the interest of any other posts. Those 2 posts were in April. One was about the opportunity to go clean up the Beth Ryan Nature Preserve. So that got 1,500 views, or in excess of 1,500 views, and we got a significant number of likes on that one compared to our other posts. And then the other post that got a lot of attention was the South Shore natural area story. So that was our history story.
Interesting. Good.
Yeah, and we got on the analytics, it was 1,900 views on that one and 10 likes. So that, it's summertime, people are thinking about being outdoors, and so I think that and traffic have been our top posts.
Traffic is always.
Yeah, traffic. And I was gonna think that we should probably do something on Stafford Road, because I keep forgetting. I had to go to Salem today, and I'm like, darn it, I forgot again about Stafford Road. And
there's a post there for you whenever you're ready.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
So that's it for me, Chris.
Okay. I'm really excited to see so many Palisades board members and Palisades residents involved in these boards and commissions. For those who don't know, Elisa is the chair of the Health and Community Health and Resiliency Advisory Board, and now David has joined that board. Carrie is on the Budget Committee. That's that's a big committee. And Tammy, I think it's fair to announce you've been accepted on the DEI committee.
Is that
So
true?
that's very exciting. And if I've missed anyone, forgive me, but it's so good to see Palisades involved in city affairs. Those connections are all so important and valuable in getting their attention on issues that are of concern to us. Okay, I'm going to open up the meeting to public comment. And Tom, you've been waiting patiently. You got a couple of minutes to share your information.
Okay, should I share my screen?
Go ahead.
Okay.
If you need permission from me, let's see.
I think I'm going to be okay. Let's see for complaints.
There we go.
Okay.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. So this flyer, the only change from the one I sent you, Chris, is this Oregon City Library one is 12 p.m. The version you had it at 5:30. But the Lake Oswego one is June 1st at 3 o'clock at the LORAC. It's actually the old clubhouse building for the golf. That is now the Oswego Hall. So we have one of hall room A in that building for this meeting. So it's only an hour from 3 to 4. And the purpose of this is that there's a group, well, there's really two groups that are run by the same people, really. So there's OSERA and there's Stewards United. The Stewards United is a 501c3 educational type of nonprofit. Whereas OSERA is, although they don't consider themselves a political action committee, the IRS declared them to be in that category. Whereas the Stewards United is then accepted as an educational. So this is under the Stewards United, but the data will be given over to OSERA. And OSERA has been working for actually a few years now to try to do something on the environment and actually to get what they hope would actually be an Oregon constitutional amendment to assure that our children and their children and their children will have a livable environment. So the purpose of this particular meeting is, and why it's under the education alarm, is that they're listening to people who have had detrimental effects from either global warming or fires, anything that where the environment is changing over time and it's adversely affected them or somebody that they know personally. So they can gather up these stories to help in the backstory for why this kind of change is important. So that's kind of the brief summary of what it's about. There's also a website. There's on this flyer, there's a QR code down here that will take you to the Stewards United website. And then there's a link off of that to says, tell your story. So you can fill out the form online and document whatever your experiences is, a story that you want to contribute to this effort. And you can do that online without having to go to the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Thanks very much.
Sure.
For those who don't know, Tom is a Palisades member on Campus Way. Okay. If you could stop your share.
Okay.
And then we'll move on. Any other public comment for tonight?
Are we going to get that flyer so we can see it and share it too locally?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Tom, if you forward it to me, I'll get it out to everybody.
Yeah, I'll get you this updated one because there's no restriction that you have to go to the Lake Oswego one. So in case somebody that you might forward it to would want to go to that Oregon City one, I'll get you the one that has the right time.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you get that to me, I'll
that
forward it to the board.
Oh, sorry, Chris.
Okay, Elisa?
Oh, Tom, I'm just eager to support that too. Be interested in both the Lake Oswego and Oregon City meetings.
Okay. I assume that, Chris, you're going to send it out to all the board members?
I will. Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Cook.
Good evening. Sorry for my late arrival. I was at a County Historic Review Board meeting. Just a couple real quick things. Today we had a little pizza feed for some students of Lake Ridge High School that came down and worked just off of Atherton Road at the Pecan Creek. They're doing a restoration project in there with Mr. McConnelly's econ classes, I guess, and or ecological classes, and maybe a couple science classes. Anyway, they've come down. They've been working with the Watershed Council of Lake Oswego and did a marvelous job. So we fed them lunch today, and very, very good group of kids. Rob, real good, quick question. In talking with Will Farley, you might be sure that Atherton,
Yeah.
from the top of the hill down to Stafford, is tubed, and look at those numbers. I have yet to see many people go 20 miles an hour from the top of the hill down to the bottom. And then going over Overlook, the big drop, pardon me, the big drop from the top of the hill all the way down to Westview. Nobody goes 20 there. And then probably the worst spot is from in front of West Ridge Elementary all the way down to Bryant. I was thinking about getting a ramp for the back of my truck so people could drive up into it because I go 20 there, and boy, do I make people mad. Anyway,
My son has his driving permit and I make him go 20 there, and people are like, it's uncomfortable.
Your son is a saint because I remember when I was that age.
No, I'm in the car with him, Rick.
Oh, okay, good. And I got two more things real quick for you. I know you're in a time thing. Stafford Road right now, they are actually trenching from the roundabout up at Stafford all the way down to the new roundabout to be. They're putting in fiber optics on the left-hand side of the road. So that's the big trench going on. And what was the last thing here? Stafford Road. Oh, Lusher Farm. In the meeting tonight with the Historic Resource Review Board for Clackamas County, Joy Fields is works in the planning department. She's one of the people that have been working with Lusher, with the city of Lake Oswego on their state parks overlay, and they still don't have their application in. Their pre-application has now lapsed, so it's going to be at least 2 months, she thought, before they get scheduled for a pre-app. So that their master plan and with the county, it's going to go to Metro and all those steps that they're doing, that's delayed at least for another 2 months. And we had two great forums for Clackamas County commissioners, and they both went very, very well. So just a little reminder that, and I'm sure you probably talked about it, but get out and vote and all those good things.
And those debates are recorded, right?
Yes.
On
And if
on
you
the
go to
Hamlet.
Actually, if you go to beavercreekhamlet.com, theirs pops up easily, or the one on the Stafford one, you kind of dig for it a little bit, but it had, we did two, one on the 20th and one on the 30th in, it covered all the commissioners. There's 3 different seats that are open this go around.
Great. Rick, always good to have you join us. Thank you.
Likewise, appreciate you.
Rick is our honorary board member, director of Area Zero.
Yes. It's a little crowded right now with some of the, I always think that it's nice that all this traffic isn't going by the house, but now it's big trucks and jackhammers and interesting noise. I'll just put it that way. So
Yeah.
you guys do a great job.
Thank you, Rick. Anything else? Anybody? Okay, we're done right on time. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you vote if you haven't already.
Turn in your ballot.
Yep. Meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.